Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Media Boat Podcast, your weekly information dump on movies, TV, music, and video games. Not necessarily in that order. My name is Mike. His name is Matt.
My name is Matt. His name is Mike. Thank you for joining us today on a fine October the 24th, 2023. This is episode 406 of the Media Boat Podcast. And yeah, like he said, all of those things, news, thoughts, new releases, all of the above, just for you and your listening pleasure.
Yes, so we got a lot to talk about, and we're
do.
actually going to switch up the order because we have a lot to talk about, and we're going to give you all our thoughts and information dump first, meaning we're not going to do the music section. We're going to go right into video games, and we start with new releases.
Yes.
Beginning with Cities Skylines 2 for the PC. If you did not play Skylines 1, there is a video tutorial of what you missed, so you can catch up for Skylines 2.
That's good.
There's also Cry Machina for the PC, PS4, PS5, and Switch. Lord of the Rings, Return to Moria for the PC and PS5. Metal Gear Solid, Master Collection Volume 1 for the PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, and Nintendo Switch. This also, as when we announced it, does indicate that there will eventually be a volume 2 down the road.
Maybe.
We also have coming out this week Ghost Runner 2 for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. And then your big releases of the week. We have your sports game, EA Sports UFC 5 for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. We also have Alan Wake 2 for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. And then we got your Christmas present coming early in Just Dance 2024 for the PS5, Xbox Series X. But let's all be serious. Y'all going to play it on the Nintendo Switch.
Is that speaking from experience? Have you received a copy of Just Dance for Christmas before?
I may or may not have both given and received a copy of Just Dance.
Well, there you go. That makes sense.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Except
what it
you
is
can.
You speculate that what you speculate of my gift givings.
Except you can because you just confirmed it.
All right, let's get into some video game news.
Yeah.
And we start with a little story, a molecule of a story.
Well, not for the people who got affected by it.
No, Media Molecule, the creators of developers behind Dreams and more famously Little Big Planet, have unfortunately decided to lay off about 15 to 20% of its current staff. Sports Illustrated, GLHF, says the studio held an internal meeting today and told staff that it planned to lay off around 20 of its 135 employees. The news comes a month after Media Molecule ended support for Dreams, which was released in early access in April of 2019, before officially launching in February of 2020. In an article posted on the game's official website earlier this year, the studio explained that it had, quote, made the difficult decision to discontinue live support for Dreams after September 1st of 2023, which was about a month and a half ago, almost 2 months by this point, to shift our focus to an exciting new project. So from the sounds of it, it seems like any developer that was working on Dreams was unfortunately part of the staff layoff.
Yeah, so this is pretty common practice in game studios. Often when development on a project ends and a new project is getting started, you will see layoffs. That's pretty expected at this point. I think the only reason why this is big news is because Media Molecule, during the ramp up to Dreams and during Dreams development, had actually expanded quite a bit. I think the intention at the time was so that way they could have two teams working in tandem on different projects. But for whatever reason, that never really happened. Part of that might be because of Dreams. Dreams didn't really take off in the way that they thought it would. It was not nearly the success that I think Sony was expecting it to be. And also, you see that release date, February 2020. It was released right before the pandemic. It really didn't have much of a chance. I mean, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's just a reality of video game development, is you will often see studios just completely gut teams after one project's done in anticipation of a new project. I think why this is news for this specific incident is that, well, because they actually staffed quite a lot of people during the development of Dreams, but Dreams didn't pan out the way probably Sony wanted it to. And so it kind of ended up being, I guess, this project that they're willing to kind of move away from as fast as possible to tackle whatever the next thing is. And it sucks because Dreams seemed like a really cool game. Everybody who actually played it was involved in the Dreams ecosystem, seemed to be really impressed with the tool set, what you could do in there, but it didn't have the word of mouth like Little Big Planet did, and it didn't quite get the critical cachet either. And so, yeah, Media Molecule is just ready to move on from it.
I wonder why it never like actually took off. It's just because it never, the people who did like it and liked the creating stuff in it were already over at Roblox and Minecraft.
I mean, Roblox existing definitely makes something that's not a free to play experience a little harder to sell. Additionally, you see the release date there. It came out in February of 2020. It wasn't going to have an Animal Crossing style word of mouth juggernaut situation. It just wasn't ever set up to succeed in that way. And so, yeah, it is disappointing. I agree. Like, because I feel like the tool set and what you could do in Dreams is really impressive, but it just never became the thing that we all hoped it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that initial price point getting into Dreams, I think, blocked a lot of people in what could have been essentially a free creator, and then you pay to play other people's creations.
Yeah. Hey, at least now we know, though, a lot of those talented people are probably going to be snatched up by other studios and do great things elsewhere, which could be exciting. So,
Dreams 2.
yeah.
Wait, what's the opposite of dreams? Nightmares.
Nightmares.
or lucid. Just create a studio called Lucid.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Let's get to our second story.
Yes.
Where it's one of our favorite times of the year. Awesome games done quick speedrunning event at the beginning of the year.
But we have a first.
Yes. So we've had people play 2 players, 1 controller. We've had 1 player, 2 controllers. We've had the use of the bongos from Donkey Kong. We've had people play things blind, but now we have one playing with 4 paws. Because in a first, a dog, that's right, a dog will compete in the next Awesome Games Done Quick event this upcoming January. In a post on Twitter X, which was spotted by IGN speedrunner JSR, posted an announcement video which revealed that his Shiba Inu, named Peanut Butter, will be appearing at AGDQ 2024, speedrunning the NES game Gyromite. This happened because Peanut Butter's owner uploaded a video of the dog speedrunning the game earlier this year using a special paddle controller. The dog, surprisingly, completed the NES game in 25 minutes and 30 seconds.
So in case anybody doesn't know what Gyromite is, this is one of 2 games for the Nintendo Entertainment System that was played with Rob the Robot, the robotic operating buddy that came with the original set of the NES here in the US. And the robot, literally upon your button presses, will move his little grabber hands to a stack of circles that are stacked on a pole and move them from one place to another. That's basically the gameplay of Gyromite. So what they've done here is they've rigged up a paddle controller that the dog can press with his little doggy paws to control Rob's actions. Um, I have not seen this dog in action, but I would love to. That sounds adorable. And I love the idea that I love the sentence that he will attend, which means he'll be there in person, I hope, which will be amazing. Just see this dog in front of an audience. You know how like the audience at Games Done Quick goes crazy for anything. They're going to
Mhm.
go crazy for this dog. Guaranteed. This is going to be
Yes,
amazing.
but you know what they say in showbiz, don't work with kids or animals. So we'll see if the dog can perform under pressure.
Well, speed running is a different thing. I think it's going to be fine. I think the dog will do well.
Speedrunning is its own kind of pressure, but hey, uh, I mean, I hope it gets like a primetime slot. So
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
see
I
a
hope.
dog speed run.
Yeah, I hope he beats his record. Personally, let's
Actually, you know
beat
what?
that PR.
No, I want it to be a $2 million goal. You hit $2 million, you see the dog speed run.
Regardless, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, while we'll watch a dog play games, we have been indulging in quite a bit of games. Why we started with video games first.
Yes, it is that time of year, folks. The games are coming out. And we played a couple of the super big ones. But before we get to those big tentpole first party console exclusive releases, let's have a little party. I understand you've played the newest Jackbox.
That's right. Jackbox X or 10 has officially been released. There's been a bunch of playtests over the past month, a lot of invite onlys and special games. But hey, the pack is here, the pack is out. You can now play the pack. And as we've said on this podcast plenty of times, Jackbox Party Packs, typically it's in every other kind of pack, which is a good one. And that more or less kind of rings true here. So there's 5 games. You get Fixie Text, TKO2, which is your drawing game.
What?
Yes, there's a TKO2.
I did not know this.
Do Re Mi, which is a rhythm game. Time Jinx, which is your trivia game. And then Hypnotorious, which is your masked deception game.
I need to know. Tell me everything about TKO2.
So TKO2 sets up very similar to TKO from, what was that, Jackbox 3 or 4?
Yeah,
3.
three.
So it's
It's the
finally
only
getting
one I
a
own.
sequel. Yeah, it's finally getting a sequel. And it's a drawing game, 3 to 8 players, roughly takes about 15-20 minutes. What they've done instead is that instead of having different rounds, you just get the entire block to draw your 3 drawings.
Uh-huh.
So you can spend as much time as you want on one drawing or as much time as you need for 3 drawings, but you have your entire block set initially to create those initial 3 drawings. And then, similar to TKO fashion, you create your own slogans and then they go to people and you can swap different designs, drawings with the different slogans. But they've added a 3rd layer where you can change up the shirt style. Because you can have a shirt, you can have a tank top, which is what I'm wearing here, or you can even make it a hoodie.
Oh my God.
But the voting is still the same. 2 shirts go up against each other. You choose for the one you like, and it moves on.
Cool.
It does seem to move a bit faster, but I do really like that the new mechanic of draw at your own speed is really helpful because unlike the first game where it was here's your first drawing, if you don't hit submit, it's gone, or
Yeah.
actually it rolls over, but you lose that opportunity to submit it for round 1.
Yeah.
So here you get the entire block for it.
Cool. All
It's
right. What
really
about
helpful.
the other games? Any of the new ones strike your fancy this time around?
I kind of liked Fixie Text. It's a group texting game, a writing game
Okay.
where you're split into 2 teams and you each get the same prompt and you're each editing the same field. And the goal is to write and create the most absurd word or sentence in response to the text. So basically, you're fixing the text,
Yeah.
Fixie Text, but in a group setting. So it's cool in that it's kind of a collab writing game, but I don't like that when it comes to scoring, you only pick per word and not like per sentence. And the words that you do choose aren't like thrown into like an end text style, similar to job, where like all the best words are thrown together and then you can create your own sentence at the end. That's kind of gone here. There's no like true final round. It just kind of feels like it just ends.
Mm.
So it is a quick game. But I do, the one thing like gem of it is the chaos collab of writing unique, insane words. I just like keep adding adjectives or adverbs or prefixes and suffixes to words to combine to make a monstrosity of a word. But that's about the only fun part of it. Time Jinx is your trivia game based on the time period. So much in the same way that not bracketeering, what was it? Guespionage lets you put a number between 1 and 100 of a percentage.
Yeah.
This gives you a range of date and say, when did this happen? Sometimes it's like general knowledge of stuff that happened. Sometimes like, I have no idea when like the golf ball was hit on the moon. Like I know it's 1969, but sometime after that. Or it's like, when was when was the Eiffel Tower elevator first started? I don't know, but it gives you a date range. And it's like, okay, somewhere in between here. So there's that. It's kind of fun, but it's also like super hard and super specific because it only counts the points towards whoever was the first two that are closest. Anyone outside of that range basically loses out on points. So it's not kind of a fair assessment. But also, if you don't know that much general knowledge, it's just an easy game to be like, well, I'm out of this after the first round. Okay, bye. What's the next one? And just kind of like tune out.
Yeah.
The other one I want to really call out, besides Hypnotorious, which is the deception game of trying to like decide and decipher who is who based on the clues that you're given, is Do Re Mi. They actually made a rhythm game for streaming.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work.
Right. You think you don't know how that works because you have to have the delay in terms of pressing a button between here and the prompt. But what they do smartly is they do a tutorial, a mandatory tutorial to calibrate your phone and your player to the game.
That's smart.
So after they do the calibration, the forced tutorial, then you play the game of it's a musical rhythm game. And really smart, really like it, and it's a bunch of birds singing.
I love
So
that.
they all the different tweets from all the different characters. Well, Twitter's tweets. We can't say that yet, can we?
Weird to say tweets now, isn't
Yes.
it?
But yeah, I was surprised that they had it with the game. We were all skeptical playing it because of the streaming lag. But once we saw that everyone got calibrated initially and it worked, we're like, oh wow, this is actually really good. Unlike the other games, though, you do need audio for this. You cannot play this on mute.
Yeah.
As I realized.
Of course you tried that.
Of course I tried that. I mean, there is kind of a visual cue of like the sound wave going, but if your visual cue is off from the audio cue, you're going to get a low score either way.
Yeah.
That does seem more of a game to play in person. But other than that, I mean, at least they got it working for streaming. And it's about a very, really short, like 2 rounds, 5-minute game.
Yeah.
So if you fail at it, that's okay. You can either go right back into it or jump to a different game.
Yep, it's true.
So it's a fun pack. I mean, I think there has a lot of highs and a lot of lows. So it's hard for me to actually recommend this, but like I said, I think TKO and Fixie Text and Time Jinx will probably be the ones you play more of than the other ones. Especially TKO, because we love TKO drawings.
Hell yeah. That's cool.
Yep.
I'm glad it's a good one for the most part.
For the most part, out of 5, 3 out of 5 ain't bad.
No, yeah, that's the majority, turns out.
Yep.
But let's clear the runway because we have 2 big games to talk about. Do you want to go first or do you want to hear about Mario?
I'll go first. We have two huge IPs to talk about. And
Yes.
I'm going to start with what I have been proclaiming since it was announced that was coming out this year
Yeah.
as my future game of the year, Spider-Man 2.
So
It's
after
here.
you've now gotten your hands on it, and you've played what I assume is several hours of it.
Well, yes,
Um,
because I've been streaming several hours of it.
do you still feel confident in saying that?
Yes and no, mainly because this year has been a stacked year for games, stuff
Absolutely.
that came out. Um, from Final Fantasy to uh Spider-Man to Mario, which we'll get to in a bit, to Zelda
Yep.
earlier this year. It's just been a stacked year for games, and where
Mhm.
Spider-Man 2 ranks on that, I will have to see by the end of it, but so far it thrust me into why I really liked Spider-Man from the PS4,
Mhm.
which was 4 years ago. 4 years ago? Yeah, 2019 game.
Mhm.
Um, because that game came out of nowhere. It was a surprise success for everyone, and because it made you feel like Spider-Man swinging through the city. Well, much to no one's surprise, Insomniac is back at it again with the same kind of feeling, but you get to play as two Spider-Men, which is why it's called Spider-Man 2, because you get to play
I,
two Spider-Man.
I don't think that's why it's called Spider-Man 2. I think it's called Spider-Man 2 because it is the sequel to the game Marvel Spider-Man.
Okay, well, they're Spidey Bros.
Well, it's not called that.
No, because you probably lose the Spider-Man IP if you call them Spidey Bros. But you get to switch between playing as Peter Parker and Miles Morales, each with their own unique, different skills to unlock. But they
Mhm.
also have a shared skill tree, which I have quickly unlocked for all the traversal stuff because, of course, you want to be able to traverse throughout New York City
Yeah.
and the different boroughs of Brooklyn and the Bronx,
Mhm.
and Queens, I think. Yeah, up
Yeah.
there. So it's added basically doubled the map in size from what was the original map for New
Mhm.
York Island to now include more of the boroughs. I do wish, however, that the story of when you switch was more poignant, because right now it feels like you close the end of one chapter or at least one story, like you get through a section, an arc, and then it ends and it feels like a good conclusion, and then you switch over to see like, okay, now we're back over here to the other Spider-Man and see what's going on with him, instead of what would have been cool is a cool transition of they meet for a battle or like a team up, and then you switch over to the other one. So it's like a continuation of the story, not here's one that ends, and now we have to come over here and pick up where another one begins.
Mhm.
Though that may just be my God of War brain talking because that was played in what felt like a single take, so you could easily go
Mhm.
from one to the other in a smoother transition. Other than that, there's a lot of surprises in this game, especially the way it opens with a huge citywide boss battle, which kind of makes sense because you have to find a way to both knock out the power and knock out all the stuff that you unlocked before. So, what else to do a giant boss battle throughout the city, um, fighting Sandman? That's not a spoiler, it's just right in the beginning, and just throw sand everywhere. Like, oh no, all the electronics are messed up because there's sand everywhere.
Yeah.
We got to unlock everything again. It's a really smart and really kind of in tongue cheeky way to like how you reset the world. But I don't get how you also like end up resetting your powers and abilities and gadgets that way. I
Mhm.
think there could have been a better way of doing that. But that being said, starting from square one and working your way back up, it's the video game mechanic. There's not much you can
Yeah.
do to like fight that.
Yeah.
At least give it in world reasoning. But like I said, everything I liked about the first Spider-Man, I really like here. The swing mechanics are great. They added web wings in order to cross the city real quickly. They've added um, in a well in a the web wings work in the similar fashion to a jumpsuit. That's not what I'm thinking of. Paragliding,
Yeah, like a gliding suit.
yeah, like a glide suit. Because it's just Cause 2 or like Far Cry, you think used the glide suit
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So same thing here, but there are rings set throughout the city to where you can catch a current and just zip through the city real quickly, doing it that way. Because the map is so much bigger, you need a way to do that before you unlock quick travel with everything. So the ideas and mechanics between each game set have improved upon, and I really like what Insomniac did. As for the actual story, though, which is where I've kind of been like talking about everything but the story, um, not a whole lot of surprises that I've encountered quite yet. Right now, it seems very note for rote in terms of we need to reintroduce some of the previous villains, reintroduce Craven from the trailer. We need to kind of more establish our main players before we get into how they're all going to intermingle with each other. I do like that in the different story beats, they do expand upon the world. It does feel like a bigger world, that the Avengers Tower in the middle of it does play a bigger role, that there is this feeling and kind of a semi interaction of other characters and within the Marvel universe within the Spider-Man game without directly calling them out or actually having them appear on screen. For example, one of the missions has you going to the Doctor Strange house because the Craven the Hunter people are surrounding the house, and you need to rescue them, or you need to not rescue them, but you need to see what's up and stop them from attacking the house. And at the end, you get like a little like wink and nod that like, hey, this is Wong in Doctor Strange's house. Like, thank you, Spider-Man, for helping out. We owe you one or something. But you don't actually like see them, so it's like, oh, like that's a good way, a smart way to like make this world feel a lot bigger while also not having to actually like show or pay licensing to have them show up in your game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see where this ends up on my end of the year list. It's not immediately jumping off as like a 10 out of 10 must play, but as for a sequel game, it's definitely one of the more polished versions that we've seen in a sequel game.
Okay. So a couple things. One, yeah, I had also heard that that seems to be how everybody's kind of at with the story, is that it seems to do occasionally interesting things, but for the most part, I don't see a whole lot of people talking about the story being this great Spider-Man story. It kind of does kind of repeat a lot of thematic elements we've seen before with Spider-Man.
Right, especially coming off the first game, which felt like it introduced a new villain in Mr. Negative. It kind of introduced Miles Morales as well as a second character, but overall, in the building up to its own version of the Sinister Six in that first game.
Although there are some theories about it's because this is going to lead to a third game of a planned trilogy, and so maybe that's why there's a little bit of spinning wheels kind of happening.
It would not surprise me.
Yeah. The other thing I've heard though is that the smaller moments are better. I've seen a lot of people saying that the side missions are actually where it's at in this game, as opposed to the story missions. Have you been doing a lot of the side stuff?
Not as much as I typically would do, which is like try and do everything within an area before going onto the same mission.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do like the story. If there's something that happens along the way, whether it's stop this car or put out this fire, or hey, there's a picture over here to do. I did come across in my stream the other day where I stopped by and helped a up and coming photographer, and it led into this side mini mission of a throwback to when Peter Parker was first trying to get a job at the Daily Bugle. It's like, oh, it's kind of cool little like flashback, like in moment, and then like it brings you like it's a nice little side mission, kind of little like slice of life.
Yeah.
That's in there. So stuff like that is nice to see. It does kind of like do a good job of like breaking away from the action and be like, oh yeah, like these are like fleshed out characters with like full on backstories and stuff, while they're also trying to like help the people of New York.
Yeah. So it seems like some people have found some enjoyment in those. So it seems like they're better than they used to be, which is good that they actually paid attention to making those smaller stories still mean as much. The other question I had, so one of the biggest problems I had with that first game was the stealth missions when you took control of people that weren't Spider-Man, like Mary Jane. and to a certain extent, Miles Morales, before he kind of became Spider-Man proper. I understand that there are still some of those story missions in this game. Are they as egregious as the first game? Is it going to be more moments of frustration in stealth, or are there fewer of them, or how do they approach that
So
this time?
I haven't gotten to any non-Spider-Man stealth missions,
Mm-hmm.
but the actual Spider-Man stealth missions that I have when I am Spider-Man have gotten a bit infuriating because I try and do what it wants me to do,
Yeah.
but then someone far away will spot me and start shooting at me. I'm like, okay, well, abandon stealth. Now let's just brawl. And yeah, the actual combat and moving around, I don't remember it much from the first game, but you gotta dodge, you gotta parry, you have to,
Mm-hmm.
you can't just button mash attack, attack, attack. You have to um, be able to dodge, use your gadgets, get out of situations in order to heal or defeat all the enemies.
Mm-hmm.
That or level up your character so you do more damage.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, it sounds like you'll probably spend more time with it. I bet this is something that you're not far from being done with. So,
No, but I have been streaming it on
yeah.
twitch.tv/mediaboat, and then I've also been posting when I'm done a little photo on our Twitter X page as well.
I have noticed this. Yes. So some fun
Yes.
photos on the Twitter on MediaBoat at MediaBoatCast on Twitter. Check it out if you want to see those. All right, cool. Well, I guess you'll report back if you have any new feelings about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like where the story is going so far. I just don't know, like, if they can keep this up. I mean, it's Insomniac. I assume they can keep it up, but at the same time,
Yeah.
once you get to the end, will you feel satisfied?
Well, I guess we'll see in the end of the year lists.
Yeah.
In the meantime, what will definitely appear on my end of the year list. Let's talk about Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
All right. So the last time we talked about a proper Super Mario Brothers game was Super Mario Brothers Odyssey.
Yes, that
And
was a
that
long
was
time ago.
7 years ago?
Six. That was
Six.
2017 because
Okay.
2017 was the last time that Nintendo released a Mario game and a Zelda game in the same calendar year and blew up everybody's game of the year discussions. Well, it's happening again in 2023. Everybody was, lauding praise on Tears of the Kingdom, and rightfully so. Just because it wasn't for me does not mean that I can see from the outside that it's a very quality product that made a lot of people super happy this year. It seemed like that was your guaranteed game of the year winner. This year's Elden Ring for sure. And yeah, fair, but in a year, like you said, with so many bangers, it's going to be really hard. I mean, just this year alone, I've said probably 3 times that I thought I knew what my game of the year was. At the beginning of the year, Hi-Fi Rush, so much fun, such a cool idea. I thought for sure, this is it. I'm done. They made a game for me. But then there have been so many other moments like that. Like I had that moment with Diablo 4. I had that moment briefly with Starfield until I didn't have that moment with Starfield. And I had that moment most recently when I finished up Goodbye Volcano High. Like this year has been just so crazy with the level of quality, and it's not even over yet. I still have pre-orders WarioWare for the WarioWare game for the Switch, which is surely also going to be great. It just doesn't stop.
Not just that, you're also missing a bunch of the remasters like Dead Space, like Metroid
Yeah.
Prime, like Fire
Resident Evil
Emblem,
4,
Resident Evil
which
4.
I also really enjoyed this year. Like it's going to be very hard to come up with a top 5, nevertheless a top 10 this year. It's going to be a struggle. But that is all to say that Super Mario Brothers Wonder is absolutely in that conversation. It might be the best Mario game that they put out in a very long time. I've had more fun with Super Mario Brothers Wonder than I had with Odyssey. It's that good, folks. Like, don't just dismiss that people are talking about it in such glowing ways because they're telling you the truth. This game is something special. Like, it's called Wonder for a reason in a lot of ways. But in case somehow, if you've been asleep under a rock or something, and you don't know what's going on here, it's a proper Mario platformer. It's 2D, like the new Super Mario Brothers games. Except, unlike the new Super Mario Brothers games, they've taken a lot of attention to detail. And this means the animations, the backgrounds, and every level, because every level has a new mechanic called the Wonder Seed that will transform it in some way. And they take full advantage of making the transformations unique and fun every single time. There hasn't been a single level where I came out of that level being like, well, that was kind of boring. I didn't really get that, which happens a lot, especially in the 2D Marios. I want to note, I am not very good at 2D platformers. Like, I know everybody thinks Super Mario World is the best game ever, and I believe them. Sure, I bet it is. But I play through like a couple worlds and I just hit a wall because it's just too hard. I am not somebody who can intuit that kind of design very easily. And so I usually struggle with platformers like the classic Mario games. Wonder has figured out a way to keep that carrot on the stick going. Every level is so inventive and so fun and so colorful and so magical that I want to see the next one as soon as I'm done with one. It has that bite-sized WarioWare feel almost, where you're like, oh, I finished that thing? Well, cool. It was so short and I enjoyed it so much. I am 100% ready and on board for the next thing, because I know it's also going to be short and bite-sized and amazing. And by the time I finish that, I'm going to want to keep going. I've played this game so much because of that feeling. It's also the first time that I've really taken advantage of the dock on the Switch, because I'm somebody who traditionally just plays Switch games docked. I'm not a portable guy. This has really changed that for me, because I like this so much that I will play it during the baseball playoffs. I will play it right before I go to bed, because I'm just like, I need like a couple of more bite-sized levels of this game. It is that amazing to play. It helps that it's also super great control-wise. Like, if you're worried at all that a Mario game in 2023 couldn't like work in the way that like the classic ones and your nostalgic rose-colored glasses did, it delivers in almost everything that you do with Mario and the other characters, because that's the thing, is you can play as Peach, Luigi, and Daisy, Toad, Toadette, any color Yoshi, and it all plays exactly the same, except for Yoshi has the flutter kick. But it's like a way you can play your favorite character without necessarily making sacrifices. But where they do change the gameplay, and this is the other thing besides the Wonder Seeds, which makes this game really special, is the badge system. So basically, this is a way to customize your experience in a way that you couldn't customize it before. You can choose to equip one badge per level, and that will change something in the gameplay. For example, there might be a badge that you put on that lets you bounce off of falling down a cliff once, just once, so that way you don't immediately die. This is great for people who, say, aren't great at platformers and want to have at least one failsafe before they completely lose out and have to restart their progress on a level. Or there's one that makes you do the charge jump from Super Mario 2. So you crouch down long enough to do like a really high jump. Or there's one that lets you do an extra wall jump in case you're like trying to get to really tall spaces. Or there's even weirder ones that I haven't even unlocked yet, from what I understand, that really change the dynamic of playing through a level. That customizable ability in this game, like customize, what am I trying to say? The ability to
Customization.
Thank you. Makes it so that way people who aren't as experienced or worried about the difficulty level of a game like this will have an easier time. Or the flip side of that, if you put on a badge that potentially could cause issues in the level that you're playing, then you actually increase the difficulty. It's kind of like the stuff in the post game of Hades, where you're kind of increasing your difficulty levels to earn better, like better rewards. It's kind of a similar kind of mechanic. You're really tailoring the gameplay to how you want to play it. So yeah, I'm just having such a good time with this thing. It is probably my favorite of the Mario platformers I've played, and I've tried them all at least once. But it's just such an amazing, wondrous experience, and it's just like got a vibe that I didn't expect from a Mario game. It's just so fun and so funny. It just feels alive, the world that you're in. And yeah, and I even played it with Christy, and Christy had a blast.
It sounds like they've done a lot to improve the accessibility of the Mario game.
Yeah.
Especially the way you can customize it. And you're right. When you're talking about the customization of going into levels, it did remind me of Hades, where you can add the different heats to it.
Yeah.
But you're leaving out one big surprise, and that I need to ask about Mario Elephant.
Yes, there. One of the new power-ups in this game is an elephant power-up, and it's just a perfect example of the crazy things that this game does. So the elephant, you would think, just means like, oh, so you're like stronger or you're tougher, but it's more than that. The elephant has little tiny abilities that you wouldn't expect it to. Like if there's water nearby, the elephant can store water in its trunk, and you can use that to water dry plants that can unlock more special things in the levels. So it gives you an extra kind of reason to have that power than just having the ability to be a little bit stronger as Mario. There's also a drill power that lets you burrow underground or on the ceiling to unlock things that maybe, or dodge enemies if you don't want to deal with them. There's several new and the looks of these power-ups change depending on the character that you're playing. It's like they customize it to the character, which is extremely cute. One thing I didn't talk about yet is the online stuff. And this is actually one of the potentially most interesting things about this game. And you wouldn't even notice it unless you actually turn it on. So it does have online co-op with friends, but Super Mario Wonder is a Strand game. And what I mean by that is, if anybody remembers Death Stranding, one of the hooks of Death Stranding, yes, you're probably wondering, what the hell is he talking about Death Stranding in relation to a Mario game? Bear with me here. One of the hooks about Death Stranding, a game I never played, but I thought was interesting in its mechanics, is players could place things in the world that other players who never meet these people could see and say that could help them in gameplay. For example, oh, this path was really hard to traverse, so I built a zip line. And every time another character plays my zip line, they can like it, and I will see it. I will see like I have 100 likes on my zip line because 100 people in their own separate games used my zip line and appreciated that I put it there. So Mario Wonder has a version of this. So similar to the new Super Mario Brothers co-op experience, when you die and there's somebody else playing with you, you become a ghost, and somebody can revive you if they touch your person before a countdown elapses. This works in single player now if you're online, because you'll see ghosts, like semi-transparent versions of actual players who are playing the same level you are in real time. And if you touch them, you get revived just like you would in co-op. But then, this is where the Strand part comes in. You can buy a standee of a Mario character in the shop and place it at a place in the level that you think perhaps was really difficult and you might need a revive in. Say, next to a pit that you could easily fall down, or next to a real tough enemy that could surprise you. You put a standee there, and then if somebody else dies and hits the standee with their ghost, they will be revived as if it was a real player. And there's a like system built in, just like Death Stranding, that shows a little counter next to a heart that shows how many times another character interacted with that. And so even if you don't buy those standees, there are other ways you can interact with other players. Like if you somehow, this has happened to me a couple of times, if you end on the ending flagpole at the same time as somebody, you'll both have hearts over you, and you'll notice you got a little heart points for just happening to be finishing a level at the same time as someone else. The end result is it creates something that feels like a communal experience, even though you're in completely separate places and you've never met this person in your life. It's a really cool mechanic, and it helps me so many times. If you're not playing this online, you're missing out on the ability to revive yourself in really key times. It saved me in a lot of crucial moments, and it's such a cool idea.
Now, you do need a Nintendo Online account to access it,
Yes,
though, right?
That is true.
For $20 for the whole year.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal, though, for what you actually get out of it. It's just so charming, and the little flowers that talk to you throughout the game are so cute and funny, and it just has such a personality and such a vibe to it. It's just such a blast, and I'm loving every single second of it. It took me like 3 days of playing it in spurts to finally hit a level that seemed really difficult for me. And I'm still excited to come back even after that, because the game design lets you choose, just ignore levels that you are having a hard time with. There's enough options, and Odyssey did this as well. There's enough options in how you approach getting the unlockable items to continue progressing through the game, that there can be entire levels that you can just leave alone. You can just never touch if you don't want to, because it's still, there's other opportunities to get the currency you need. And so having that flexibility and customization is just why this game is, to me, an all-timer already. Like, it's just so much fun.
So I think I realized why. Because you like the power-ups and you like Kirby. And Kirby has the power-ups. Does it feel like a Kirby game? Because it sounds like you're talking to me about a Kirby game.
A lot of people have pointed out the similarity, the things that they've learned from other platformer series, and Kirby is definitely one of them. Especially like that drill power-up reminded me a lot of Kirby. Mm-hmm. Also, the idea of customizing and tailoring the experience is very Kirby, especially what they did with Forgotten Land. A lot of people have also compared a lot of wonder to, remember the Rayman Legends platformers from 15 years ago or so? A lot of people say that there's some inspiration happening from those Rayman games. And I'm like, yeah, I can see it. Those were pretty good games. So yeah, I mean, honestly, like, there's just, I can't talk more praise about this game. Like, it's just been so much fun. And the year's not over yet, but it's gonna be kind of hard to top this experience for me.
I mean, there's only 2 months left before we have to finalize our game of the year lists.
Getting up to the edge there. But yeah, I'll finish there, because yeah, like I could just keep going, but I know we have the rest of the show to do.
Yeah. Last question. You mentioned how people can leave stuff like strands. Can people also leave like posts and notes?
No, it doesn't get that in depth. It's still very much a platformer. And so you're meant to kind of just go through these levels pretty quickly. So it's really just the standees. But the standees are such a cool thing that it's like, it's interesting to see Nintendo even take cues from these new ideas that are coming out of designing around online games, taking advantage of games being online all the time. So the fact that a Mario game is even doing that now really shows you where we're at with game development. Like, there's a lot of collaborative picking and choosing from different inspirations from across all sorts of genres, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, sounds like you found your dopamine hits.
Oh yeah, it is nothing but, it's just constant glee, constant wonder, if you will.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure you'll be talking more about Super Mario Brothers Wonder at the end of the year. But hey, I think we spent almost an hour on just video games.
I knew we would.
Yeah, that's how we started there. Anything else in video games before we move on?
No, I think that's it. Mario is pretty much everything this week.
All right. Then let's move on back up to the top here, as we normally do, to the music section. We start the music section with the Billboard. We start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And you know, it might be October, but for some reason, it's still a Cruel Summer, because Cruel Summer by Taylor Swift, your #1 song in the land.
Finally, after 4 years since its initial release on Lover, up till now, it finally did it.
I saw Apple did a Cruel Summer only album list of like 3 different versions of Cruel Summer.
So yeah, Taylor put that out herself. It was a remix and also the audio from the Eras Tour film of the performance of Cruel Summer.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be like question like, wait, did she put out the entire Eras Tour album in sound out form?
She should.
No,
but she has not done that yet.
I mean, she will probably once it's out of theaters, but yes. She's going to do it at the beginning of next year. So she has something for 2025.
Perhaps.
2024. At #2, Paint the Town Red by Doja Cat. At 3, Snooze by SZA. At 4, IDGAF by Drake featuring Yeet. And rounding out your top 5, Monaco by Bad Bunny.
Yes.
As for your album chart, your Billboard 200 at number 1. I'm glad you're making me read these.
Yep.
Nadie sabe lo que va a pasar mañana by Bad Bunny.
Yep.
Is your number 1 album. Congratulations, Bad Bunny. At number 2, For All the Dogs by Drake. At 3, The Name Chapter, Free Fall by Tomorrow Cross Together. At 4, Zach Bryan by Zach Bryan. And rounding out your top 5, Set It Off by Offset.
Yes. But yes, Bad Bunny is surprising no one is your number 1 record this week, because of course it is.
Because of course he is.
Yes.
Also doesn't hurt that he got the SNL bump or
Yes.
SNL debut. If you didn't like any of those albums, we have new releases, starting with Chronicles of a Diamond by Black Pumas, House and Trance by Crime in Stereo, Action Adventure by DJ Shadow. We also have a throwback for your mom, I think. Danse Macabre by Duran Duran. Yes, that Duran Duran.
That Duran Duran.
We have a media boat favorite, The Silver Cord by none other than King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, with, I believe, their 10th album of the year.
That's too many.
We also have Zig by Poppy. Robed in Rareness by Shabazz Palaces. 152 by Taking Back Sunday. Yes, that Taking Back Sunday.
Yeah.
History Books by The Gaslight Anthem. God Games by The Kills. Jenny from Thebes by The Mountain Goats. And lastly, Hold by Wild Nothing.
I think you're missing something.
Nothing else of note comes out this week. Oh, wait, am I missing something?
Yes, you are.
It's not the 13th, it's the 27th.
It's 27.
Okay. 1989.
Yes.
Taylor's version.
Yes.
By Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Comes out this
Friday
week as well.
That'll be the biggest release of the week and probably your number 1 record next week. Surprising no one. Yeah.
Is it only the biggest release because Taylor's actually smiling on this album?
Yes. If you ask the fans, that is why.
That is totally why. And it's not because she's smiling because she's dating Travis Kelce.
Yeah, maybe. All right, but you mentioned...
But she is doing the NFL promotion tour with it, as they keep showing her because she keeps showing up at games.
Yep, it's true. But you mentioned Bad Bunny just a moment ago. He's in the news this week.
Well, I didn't mention it. I was forced to mention him because he not only had the number 1 album this week, but he had the number 1 album around the world. So though the year is beginning to draw to a close, Bad Bunny is gearing up for his grand return from wrestling into music, starting with the feat of his latest trap-leaning Nadie Sabe Lo Que Va a Pasar Mañana, becoming the number 1 album in the United States.
Quickly, can you translate that for me?
Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
Aha, thank you.
The reggaeton star claims his third consecutive number 1 this week with 184,000 units sold, according to data provided by Illuminate. Mr. Booney is solely responsible for 3 of the 4 all Spanish language albums to have ever hit the top of all genre inclusive albums chart. The other one being Karol G's Mañana Será Bonito, which joined the list earlier this year. Along with hosting and performing Saturday Night Live this past weekend, Bunny's Nadia album came attached to a North American tour announcement because, of course, it did. The first sign of ramped up activity in the coming year after claiming 2023 as his year of rest. And by year of rest, I do mean putting a rest on some wrestlers because that's exactly where he was.
Yeah, he's everywhere right now between SNL and his wrestling appearance, plus being on the top of the charts, plus touring the world this year. It's
Was
hard
doing
to
mocap
escape.
for UFC or was it WWE
Yeah.
2024?
Yeah, no, he's everywhere. And yeah, like goes to show you, like, he's not going away anytime soon. He is one of the biggest stars on the planet right now, and he knows it. And he's taking advantage of that peak by being kind of everywhere you look. And you know what? Good for him. Seems like people really enjoy his music. They enjoy his personality. They enjoy his predilection for what's her name? Kendall Jenner. You know, like he seems like he's
As you
everywhere.
do, yes.
You do. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what could possibly slow this guy down. But if this is his year of rest, I'd like to see a year where he's not resting.
Well, considering that he wasn't allowed to get hurt while he was wrestling on his own accord, or sorry, not of
Yeah.
his own accord, because he did do his own flips and jumps and stunts and stuff like that. But, you know, as actors do, as professional entertainment goes,
Yeah.
um, he does make it very entertaining. He puts definitely capitalizes on the entertainment factor. Not necessarily maybe the sports factor, but definitely the entertainment factor. All right, but yeah, congratulations, Bad Bunny. Your tour is in the mail. Speaking of stuff that's in the mail, have you gotten your copy yet of Britney Spears' tell-all new book, The Woman in Me?
So I actually have an answer for you to this question. We did not buy it, but what we did do is we got it at the library. We got it on Libby. So we got it on, just came off of hold yesterday. And so Christy and I are going to start reading it tonight.
Nice. Well, as mentioned, that book is finally here. The 275-page memoir.
Moi.
Uh, memoir. Uh,
Moi.
Miss Spears chronicles her journey through pop stardom and her highly publicized conservatorship battle, without skimping on the details. The book is dedicated to her two sons, but the pop icon penned a special note to her fans in the acknowledgments. Quote, "You have my heart and gratitude forever. This book is for you." End quote. Spears credits her fans with giving her strength in the darkest hours of her fight for freedom. She goes on to write in the book, quote, "I don't think people knew how much the Free Britney movement meant to me, especially in the beginning. I was not okay, not at all. And the fact that my friends and my fans sensed what was happening and did all that for me, that's a debt I can never repay. If you stood up for me when I couldn't stand up for myself, from the bottom of my heart, thank you."
Yeah. Very sweet.
Nice. Nice.
So
Sweet.
yes, as people are starting to read the book, some little bits and pieces are coming out of it. Of course, we recommend you actually reading the book instead of just gleaning everything from news stories. But some stuff has already come out about her response to Justin Timberlake's Cry Me a River video, that kind of era of her association with him, up to the recording of her album Blackout, which was a rare moment where she had creative control over her music during the conservatorship, and little bits and pieces from the conservatorship and how hard that was for her to deal with, as well as stuff about her sister, Jamie Lynn Spears, and their relationship with her father, which has been storied over the years as chaotic, to say the least. So yeah, the book is on shelves now. If you're curious at all, pick it up. But yeah, it seems like it'll be a fun thing to dig into and see where her mind was at during all this stuff. Also, fun fact, the audiobook version narrated by Michelle Williams.
That Michelle Williams?
Not the Destiny's Child Michelle Williams, but
Oh,
Michelle
okay.
Williams, the actress, just to be
Yes.
clear. Because I saw somebody's asked that question on Twitter, and they were like, "Oh wait, no, not that Michelle." There, that's your answer. So yeah, it seems yeah, interesting. I'll be able to dig into
Yeah,
that soon.
I have read some of the headlines. I haven't delved into the articles. I kind of want to get the book. I mean, this is kind of something that like we did live through and kind of
Right.
finally see the other side, the tell all, the behind the veil, behind the curtain, the what actually happened, like how Britney Spears felt and chronicled it herself.
Yeah.
It's definitely an interesting time, especially because as being both male and young and impressionable at the time, we got all of our news and sources from not just our friends, but definitely from gossip, definitely from media mongers and outlets. So
Yeah.
to hear Britney in her own voice, um, albeit I want to assume a bit edited down because
Perhaps
250, 75 pages, while a lot,
is
does feel
not
like
long
if
for a
she,
memoir. No.
yeah, I would say that sounds like part one of a memoir that something that Britney Spears went through.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to dig into.
Yep. But
Speaking of digging into things,
yeah, we got to dig into, well, it's not going to be dig because this thing isn't really deep.
no,
Oh, it's not. I'm going to talk one more time about Blink 182
I'm gonna shock you.
album.
I'm gonna
One more
shock
time.
you.
Yeah.
I listened to this as well
Oh, you
today.
did listen to this at will.
Today. Well, because
Uh,
you didn't have it on here when I first started editing the doc. And I went like, well, I have some time. Let's see how this thing is. And then by the time I logged back in, you had written it down. I was like, all right, cool. We both listened to this.
all right.
So yes, this is one more time the new Blink 182 record, or as I like to call it, Back Together for the Kids.
I mean, it is. This is once again,
Never mind.
this is just for you. This is all original members back once again to record an album. But that being said, it's called One More Time because they're doing it. They're back in the studio, but they are older. And this did remind me a whole lot of that California album that came out
Yeah.
7 years ago.
Except this
2017,
time it's
16.
Tom DeLonge. It's Tom DeLonge this time, not Matt Skiba, though.
Yeah, but did that make a huge difference in the songwriting or the
So yes,
content?
I'm going to say yes and no. Because yes, I agree with you. It's a lot like the last few Blink 182 records, which is to say they're older and they can't really do what they used to do. But where I think that it does reflect that the lineup is back to normal is the fact that the Tom DeLonge songs sure sound a lot like Tom DeLonge's other bands, don't they?
Oh, yes, they do.
And I think the result at the end of the day, at the end of the record, I should say, is it feels like being pulled in like 7 different directions. It feels like there's no cohesiveness to the thing. And they had so many different ideas of what sounds they wanted to do that they did all of them instead of doing one like consecutive like idea throughout.
Well, they had the one song that they released earlier this year, Edging, which they also performed at Coachella.
Probably the
Yes,
worst
I
song on
know.
the record.
Huh?
Probably the worst song on the record, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, but it is the one that they decided to release. And
Somehow.
it did sound like old Blink 182. But then
Kinda.
again, it sounds like old Blink 182 with an old Blink 182.
Yes, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and not the elephant power up from Mario Wonder either.
No, no, this is age.
Tom DeLonge sounds old, and I think we had this
Yes.
conversation when we talked about the most recent Angels and Airwaves record last year,
Mhm.
which I actually kind of enjoyed more than I thought I was going to. But on both records, he does sound different than he used to. The man has lived a lot since the early 2000s. And so, yeah, he's going to sound a little different than he did on Blink 182 classics like All the Small Things and I Miss You and all that, the classic songs you think of when you think of Blink. And so, yeah, it's kind of jarring at first to hear his voice the way it sounds now coming out of a Blink 182 song, because I do have to give props where it's due. instrumental wise and sound of the song, like the way the actual songs sound, it is impressive what they can pull off at their age. Like it is, they can still do a muscular sounding pop rock sound. Uh, Kudos to Travis Barker, especially, whose drumming is just relentless on this record. I read a review in which one of the things that they said was there's not a single like empty space that is not filled with a drum roll, like some sort of drum fill. Just Barker's all over this thing. Just every second has some sort of drum thing happening. And it's just kind of, it really makes you like honestly like respect the talent of these guys. They're still very talented musicians. They still have the ability to play their instruments really well. But the vocals are just, yeah, they're lacking. And it's not their fault that that's just the way it is. But yeah, if you're looking for that old school sound, you're going to be missing something.
I mean, you're right. In the vocals, it does feel like a half step, but definitely in the music, and at least the tone and the genre, I mean, they're just like they were. They're still playing, like you said, Travis Barker, like when he's not drumming, he's just like, oh, like, whoa, why am I not drumming? You got to hear me drum.
There are moments where I think there are some good moments on this record. I will not say it's 100% not worth anybody's time. I think if you've ever liked Blink, there's stuff to be gleaned from a few of these songs that I think will be great additions to their catalog, will be fun to play on the road when they do festivals like the upcoming When We Are Young festival, which will be great because they have a song on this record called When We Were Young.
Yep.
Which is a little much. But yeah, so like they very much know what they're doing. There are some moments that you can say, oh yeah, no, I like this. But they're balanced out by moments of what the hell are you thinking, guys? Which I definitely asked a few times.
Oh, you mean when you got like to the end of the album with a track called Fuckface?
Yeah. I mean, these are, let's be fair. These guys, you know, they once recorded a song that was just them cursing every curse word that they knew. So like we should expect a certain level of this from every Blink record. But these guys are in their what, late 40s, early 50s at this point, if not older.
They're older than us, yes.
Look, yeah. They were older than we were when they were recording that third Blink 182 record. Let's be real. So yeah, it's been like it's just weird.
They probably got a good decade on us, I would say.
It's just for a band that's always been very aware of their age. Like their first hit literally said,
you can't say they've been aware of their age if they have a hit called What's My Age Again?
Yes, and then, you know, of course, What's My Age Again? It's been a subject that they've brought up throughout their discography. It's always been something on their minds. So to hear them when they're actually getting older, still talk about stuff like, let's say, fucking a girl in church. It's weird. It's this weird, like, just a juxtaposition of who they are as family men with like kids that are getting older, like, and like combined with this like juvenile persona that they've developed throughout their career. It's a weird thing to wrestle with. And I think this record especially doesn't feel like it's balanced at all. Like I said, it just feels like it's pulled in several different directions. Do they still think they're young? Are they embracing their older years? Are they like, I'm just getting confused, mixed messages from the members of Blink here. Like, do they want to be a band still? Are they having second thoughts about the very idea? There's a song here that I really don't like. It's the name of the record, One More Time, which is a ballad, really sappy ballad that specifically references the fact that they are recording together. And it has the most, in my opinion, the most embarrassing part of the record, which is, of course, they sing "I Miss You" in the chorus because, of course, they want you to think about the classic Blink-182 song. It's just like, I just felt like it's just too hammy, too like trying to grab the nostalgia, and it didn't work at all for me. And I think that really is emblematic of how this whole record feels. It's like, you guys can still do it, and I wish you guys would just embrace being a good band on your own strengths, with instead of doing things that you aren't anymore, that you used to be good at, that you can't pull off anymore, or weird sonic experiments like trying to do a new wave song that you really don't need to do. Like it's confused. It's a very confused record.
I mean, yeah, it being a confused record. Don't get us wrong. It's still something that you should probably listen to for yourself. Being a Blink 182 fan, that it does still have those nostalgic bits in it, like you mentioned. It does, but as you mentioned, it also does feel like at times grasping at straws. So listen for it yourself. Your mileage may vary, I think, heavily on this. Just like Blink 182's mileage may vary as they're going to try and milk this thing as it being a band.
Yeah, we will see what's next for them. But for now,
in the meantime,
this thing exists.
Yeah. Did you listen to anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. And we'll, of course, talk about Taylor next week. So strap yourselves in for another, 15 minutes, probably talking about Taylor Swift next week.
That's next week's problem. But hey, we got this week's episode to finish up.
Yes. And we, of course, continue the podcast by talking about television. And we always start television with the Sports Corner. We start Sports Corner this week with something that's happening right now, folks, which is Game 7 of the Phillies Diamondbacks Conference Championship Series.
This means that both series went to Game 7s.
Yes, both series went to Game 7. It was back and forth all week. The Phillies were surprised by a resilient Diamondbacks in the last few games, which has brought the series to a Game 7. Meanwhile, in Texas, your face-off between the Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros. Well, turns out the Astros can't play at home. And this ended up being their undoing yet again this year, as they took all 3 road games and then immediately lost again when they were back in Houston. So the
baseball prayers have been answered.
So the Texas Rangers will continue on to the World Series, but we will see tonight whether the Phillies can pull it off against the Diamondbacks. I honestly don't know where this one goes. It feels like it could go either way. It depends on which Phillies we get tonight.
Currently, Arizona is up 1-0 as they go to the bottom of the first.
Okay.
But yeah, this game will decide where the Rangers will then go. Will they go east to Philadelphia, or will they go west to Arizona?
It'll be interesting to see. Additionally, I saw a lot of people pointing this out on Twitter. If this is a Diamondbacks Rangers World Series, which it could very well be, and a Blink-182 record is on the charts, then hell, it's 2001 all over again, baby. Anyway, so let's move on from baseball to talk about the WNBA. As we predicted, you can pick up your phone. The Las Vegas Aces did take the championship, which means that they are back-to-back WNBA champions. So congratulations to the Las Vegas Aces.
Congratulations. This now means that the town of Las Vegas now has 3 championships in the span of what?
5 years?
Months, I think.
Yeah. It's like they waited forever to have teams, and now they have teams, and that they're really good, turns out.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Probably more like 13 months. I'll say, because the hockey one happened this past year. So yeah, probably the span of 13 months, you now have 3 championships.
Not bad at all.
And a terrible football team.
Well,
and soon to be a terrible baseball team.
Okay, we'll see about that. we're probably, we're like what, 2.5 weeks away from getting all of the baseball postseason news. So get ready, strap in.
Well, yeah, I mean, even when they do finally break ground for the new baseball stadium, they're not going to be there till 2028.
Right, but we'll at least hear maybe what's the plans are, which is going to be wild. Anyways, meanwhile, the NBA season will start this week, today, actually. Your first
right now, actually, as this clock is going.
Your first matchups are the Lakers against the Denver Nuggets and the Phoenix Suns against the Golden State Warriors. So
that's right. LeBron and the LA Lakers are taking on the current NBA champions, Denver Nuggets, and they're currently getting spanked 60-48. Well, no, 12 points is not technically getting spanked, but
I mean, it's not getting spanked.
I mean, especially when you're still in the first half, you give up 60 points to Nikola Djokovic, the
Yes.
reigning MVP and NBA championship team.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah,
speaking.
they got the banner raised, they got their rings,
Mhm.
their stupidly fat nugget of a ring.
Hey, they're the Nuggets. They got to live up to the name.
And then
Um,
Phoenix Suns versus Golden State Warriors because screw the East Coast, you don't get a an
yeah,
opening game
I guess
apparently.
not. Well, the opening, the what do they
The
call it?
tip
The
off,
NBA
yeah,
tip off is like a several day affair, apparently. So
yes,
yeah, so we'll see. I just want to mention real quick. I forgot to tell you this last week. Christy had never seen the kid who says LeBron James, that video, the Vine.
yeah.
So she has finally seen it and she is obsessed with it now. She keeps
LeBron
quoting it.
James,
Yeah, she keeps saying LeBron James now all the time. I'm just like, wow, you were so late to the party.
you're so late. You could have just been a Laker fan this entire time.
No, she refuses. She's all in on the Pelicans, baby. New Orleans Pelicans, here we go.
Is that because they remind her of was it Pelipper, the
No, but that's
Pokemon?
cute. I didn't think about the Pokemon Pelipper. Well, that just sells me more on them. I believe their first game is sometime next week.
Tomorrow.
Oh, is it tomorrow? Okay.
Yeah, but most teams play tomorrow for the NBA. Meanwhile, in the AHL, they all play tonight because
Yes.
surprisingly, in order to combat NBA tip-off, NHL Frozen Fury Day, where they are dropping the puck every 15 minutes on a different game across the US.
Damn. Well, if you're the San Jose Sharks, you're happy for another opportunity to win because you just finally got a win. They were apparently the last season of the last team to get a win this season so far.
No. They are still the last team. They still have 0 wins.
Oh, well, that's not what it says here. But
I'm sorry, should I add still?
still,
Yes.
so yeah, maybe they'll be relishing.
I mean, eventually, yes. The
tonight.
plan is they will eventually win a game, but that just does nothing change the fact that they will be the last team to win to get a victory this year.
So shout out to all those Ducks fans who are very thrilled with this news. Anyway,
Yes, and shout out to everyone in the drunk tank shark tank because keep drinking.
Oh man, I really hope that reminded me. Did the Diamondbacks go into the Diamondback pool when they won the last series? I didn't.
I
Track
believe so. They went
did?
and jumped over the
Yeah.
center field.
Are
Yeah,
they going to do it again today if they win? I would hope.
I mean, tis tradition.
Yeah, tis. Do
You
the
just don't
Phillies?
let the Phillies run
Yeah,
into
do
the
the
pool.
Phillies do it if they do
No,
it?
the fans will block them.
Anyway, let's move on. And
Well, oh, no, they
lastly,
can't. They're in Philadelphia. They
oh,
can't
that's
run into the
right.
pool.
They're not even. So they lost the opportunity to celebrate.
Yes,
In the
they lost
pool.
it last night
Rats. Anyway,
or 2 nights ago.
yeah, 2 nights ago. Let's talk about the last league that we're going to talk about today, which is the NFL. Last year's Super Bowl teams are the only teams with just one loss. Meanwhile, the Miami Dolphins have been selected for in-season Hard Knocks this year. So if you weren't done with Hard Knocks, guess what? There's another one, and it'll be about the Dolphins.
Yeah, they tried this last year with the Colts. Sorry, 2 years ago with the Colts, and then last year with the Arizona Cardinals, and now they're doing it with the Miami Dolphins.
All right. Will you be watching this?
Probably, yeah. More so than last year because the Cardinals are in division and they just didn't want anything to do with them.
Anything to it.
But at least, and plus they were like already like practically eliminated, so it just felt weird. But with the Dolphins, they actually have a good team.
Yeah.
They're putting up tremendous points. They're the ones that put up 70 points 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But yeah,
they're absolutely in contention.
Yes, they're going to be in contention. They're probably going to make the playoffs. So it's going to be. They actually picked a really good team to follow this time.
It sounds like it.
But hey, we'll see if they can take on both Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, and then Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles as
and
they
Taylor
are.
Swift.
And Taylor Swift, as she is rooting for both of them because she's both an Eagles fan and a Arrowhead Kansas City Chiefs fan.
She might be the only person who is both.
Besides Donna Kelsey.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody in that suite.
And you wonder what they bonded over.
Yeah, you wonder. All right. Any other sports news before we move on?
There is some speculation going on about the University of Michigan and possible sign stealing, dealing with a staffer who purchased tickets to non-Big Ten games
Interesting.
because the University of Michigan would be playing against them in upcoming matches. And he didn't buy one ticket, he bought two tickets, exact opposite sides of the field, facing exact opposite sides of the benches.
Yikes.
They found this out when he used his own name to purchase the tickets in a very rare and dumb move that if this is true, why would you purchase under your own name? You use pseudonyms.
Yeah, if anything.
If anything, you purchase a gift card. Like
Yeah.
the criminal you are.
Well, we'll be watching that story, I'm sure, as it evolves.
Well, we'll see if there's any fallout from it.
Anyway. So let's move on then out of sports news and into television news proper. And our first story is a little crossover with the video game section, as we're going to be talking about some Fallout.
You're probably asking, from the University of Michigan.
I was going to say Fallout over what? Thank you for the set, the slam dunk there. Prime, no, we're talking about Prime Video's highly anticipated live-action TV series adaptation of the video game franchise Fallout. Well, we finally have a date, April 12th, 2024, which is the 26th anniversary of Fallout Day, the day that I guess the first Fallout games came out. Is that what it is?
Is that the date? I believe so.
That sounds right.
Yeah, 98.
Yeah, 98, the original PC game. So, in case you don't know what Fallout's about, Fallout is set in the future post-apocalyptic Los Angeles and is based on an original story that is part of the canon of the games, but beyond that, exact plot details is under lock and key. The show, which has been in the works since 2020, hails from Kilter Films and executive producers Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, the team that brought you Westworld and The Peripheral. The series
Peripheral was also on Prime Video that just wrapped up.
The series cast includes Ella Purnell, who was in Yellow Jackets, Walton Goggins from The Hateful Eight, Aaron Moughton from Emancipation, Kyle MacLachlan, Kyle MacLachlan.
Yes, that Kyle MacLachlan.
Oh, Chrissy's going to go crazy. She might actually have to watch this if Kyle MacLachlan's in it. Leslie Uggams from Deadpool and Zelia Mendez-Jones from The Wheel of Time. So pretty good cast, pretty interesting setup. We'll have to wait till April of next year to find out what's going on in Fallout.
Yeah. Basic premise for those that don't know is that there are vaults spread across the U.S. from Vault Tech in the case of a nuclear fallout. Yep. Well, that happened. There was, and people were shoved and sheltered into these different Vault Tech safe houses, which plan to open up at various dates. This one being in Los Angeles, I'm going to assume opening in 2024.
Yes.
To whatever world or wonder shall behold them.
I'm sure that Amazon Prime is crossing their fingers that they have a Last of Us style moment with this show. The Last of Us proved that there's an appetite for adaptations of video games like this. So, this could be good. This could be high quality. Really don't know quite yet. A lot of people liked Westworld quite a bit. I didn't hear anybody talk about The Peripheral. So we'll have to see how Fallout does.
It will be interesting to see what does happen because this is an original story. But as mentioned, needs to stay canon to the current games.
It's fascinating because I don't know how that's going to happen, but I guess
Nuka-Cola is everywhere.
Yeah, Nuka-Cola is everywhere. Get ready for that. All right, let's move on to our second story, which you anime viewers will appreciate. Crunchyroll was in the news this week because Sony has inked a global distribution deal with Amazon, bringing the anime streaming service to Prime Video. But don't get too excited yet. This will let you access Crunchyroll's library of 24,000 hours of content from the video platform via Prime Video channels, followed by our additional, which is already available in the US, Canada, Sweden, and the UK, followed by additional territories throughout 2024. This basically means that Prime members can pick from two Crunchyroll membership plans, the Fan plan, which is $7.99 a month, or the Mega Fan, which is $9.99 a month. Both plans allow for ad-free streaming, but MegaFan subscribers can also download titles for offline viewing with, quote, additional non-video benefits to be added shortly. For Amazon, the distribution deal for Crunchyroll is part of its strategy to make Prime Video a one-stop shop for multiple streaming subscriptions, all available through their single Amazon sign-on with no extra apps to download. So, like I said, don't get too excited. This does not mean that this becomes a feature of your Prime account. What this does mean, however, is you can bypass downloading a Crunchyroll app and instead, from within Prime Video, access Crunchyroll content as long as you're paying the subscription fee. So,
yeah. I mean, yeah, you have to, it doesn't come with your Prime Video. You do have to purchase the additional content. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Isn't Crunchyroll with Max though?
No. As it stands right now, Crunchyroll, which is a Sony-owned property, which is why it hasn't done any deals with other streaming services until now, was an standalone service.
I'm thinking of Studio Ghibli. Yeah.
Yes. So Studio Ghibli films appear on Max. There are some crossover with Hulu and Crunchyroll with some anime shows being distributed, as well as some anime shows being on Netflix that are also on Crunchyroll. There's some crossover happening on several of the different streaming services. But the unique thing about Crunchyroll is the fact that it sometimes will co-stream shows as they premiere in Japan. So it's still the thing to get if you are an anime diehard who wants to see stuff go up the same week and want to follow new seasons of shows as they're happening. So if you're interested in that and you don't have a standalone Crunchyroll subscription and you already have Amazon Prime, then this is an option for you. But this essentially does the same thing as just signing up and downloading the app itself. So it's up to you. Yeah, but it's interesting that they're doing it.
But as the news story goes, Amazon is trying to do this one single sign-on where you can access everything just going to Amazon.
Yeah,
it's smart. We'll see if it actually pans out. But this is part of that plan of why go to other sites, as Amazon likes to say. We can just buy it from us.
Why go to 5 or 6 stores when you can just shop from one? You know. Anyways. Referencing a lot of old YouTube videos today. Let's move on to some thoughts. You watched a Netflix show. Speaking of Netflix.
I did.
You did. You have that written down.
Oh, yeah, I did.
That forgettable, huh?
Well, see, it is kind of forgettable because it's Big Mouth Season 7. Yes. I know what you're thinking. They did 7 seasons of Big Mouth?
I'm still just in awe of the legs that this thing has.
Well, especially because all the characters are really short. Anyway. Also, they are in middle school. So if the middle school lasts for 3 years, and say you do a season is half a semester, and there's 2 semesters, that means after 6 seasons, you got to go where? To high school, right?
Maybe.
Well, that's exactly what they want to do. As season 7 is not really a season in itself, dealing with school, but more of a prototype of what Big Mouth season 7, 8, 9, 10 could be, as I'm sure they're on the bubble in terms of getting canceled, but also I'm sure that saying, hey, don't cancel us just yet, because we can do high school stuff now. They're going into high school. They're going into like actual sexual exploits, like actually getting into the nitty-gritty, but also exploring their friendships that kind of die out and grow between middle school and high school. That transition between tweens to teens to growing up to finding your own interests to maybe breaking off some of those friendships, going to different schools, adding different interests, becoming your own person in high school. That's what Big Mouth Season 7 is trying to sell you on for the future of Big Mouth and why you should keep watching. But that's what it is. It's all a big sales pitch. It's all a big prototype of, hey, we can do this and this and this. Even so much that says, hey, we could do Big Mouth International, as it does a literal showstopper and says, we have Big Mouth in several different languages. And you know what? We're going to show you that Big Mouth happens around the world. Netflix, that people watch us around the world because everyone experiences puberty around the world, and we're going to actually show you in in graphic detail and in musical format, because we're still a musical. We like doing show tunes. How Big Mouth is influential around the world. It's all a big sales pitch.
Yeah.
Because the big thing happening, like within the characters, is just they're graduating and they're getting ready to go to high school. But they actually go to high school at like episode 10 at the very end. So you don't really get to see them in high school, but they do the like middle school to high school like transition, like, hey, come, we'll show you around high school. Did you ever do that? Where like they bust you like in 8th grade to the high school? They're like, hey,
Yeah.
like we're gonna show you around so you know what's happening when you come here next year.
Yeah.
They do that for a couple episodes. So it shows like it's all it is, just showing like, hey, we're done with all the middle school stuff. Please, Netflix, keep us around so we can do like all the high school adult action that we kind of want to do now.
Right, right. And it could happen considering that where we're at is animation is the only thing that was in production this season. Like they could still animate shows. So yeah, I don't know. You might see more of it because of that, even though I thought they were shutting this thing down after this season.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
But if they get more people to watch this, and like I said, it just felt like a giant sales pitch. Whereas season 6 did feel like a proper send off to the characters. Like it felt like it ended. Where I thought they did season 7, I'm like, wait, I thought this thing ended. Why is this thing showing up and under new releases now?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, we have a new season. I was like, I thought you ended. What is this?
Somehow it's back.
Somehow it returned.
Somehow it returned.
Somehow Big Mouth returned.
Yeah. So is it still worth checking out if you've enjoyed it in the past, or is
if
it
you've gone through 6 seasons of
spinning
this
its
thing,
wheels
you
at
might
this
as well
point?
watch season 7 because, like I said,
Sure.
it is a sales pitch to basically be like, hey, we want to transition to like the more teenager high school stuff that we know where sexual exploits can happen on a more consistent basis, not this kind of pity footing around puberty and making it like a colorful, wonderful experience that everyone goes through. We can kind of get into more like a nitty gritty, not just in puberty, but also in dealing with relationships and dealing with growing up, being your own person, setting yourself up for a future beyond high school. So yeah, still like showing that, hey, we're not yet done coming of age because we're not yet done growing these characters.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they're done or not, I guess.
Yeah.
Only a matter of time. All right. Anything else on television that we want to talk about this week?
I am watching something else, but I will talk about it at the very end. It's called Lessons in Chemistry. It's on Apple TV Plus.
Yes, the Brie Larson thing.
Yes, stars Brie Larson, but holding off on talking about it because it's based off a book. And my doctor just so happens to be reading the exact book.
I see.
Because when I showed her, I'm like, hey, we could be watching this. It's new. And she's like, wait, hold on. Reaches over, grabs a book. You mean this? So I'm like, what?
Wow.
Wow. It's one of the things. It's been sitting right next to me this whole time. What? I was like, oh, is that what that book is about? But yeah, Lessons in Chemistry. The Brie Larson is a chemist, becomes a cook, becomes a chef, becomes a molder of women.
Right.
That is on Apple TV Plus. I'll be talking about that when it concludes.
All right. Sounds good. With that, let's move on into cancellations and renewals.
What am I no longer watching?
You're no longer watching, although I don't believe you were watching this in the first place. The Problem with Jon Stewart on Apple TV. It has been canceled after 2 seasons.
I believe that was up to get a 3rd season. I thought they did say they were going to get a 3rd season, but then cutting it short, they pulled it.
Yeah. Also, the 8th season of Elite on Netflix will be its final season. So
yeah, that is already filmed. It's just going to show it next April. So that will be its last.
Yeah. Renewals this week, though. We have Sweet Magnolias getting its 4th season on Netflix. The recently premiered Gen V will get a second season on Prime Video. And
because it's from The Boys.
yeah. And Everyone Else Burns on the CW will get a second season.
That is the show that's taken from the CBC in Britain. It already got a second season over there. Just confirmed the second season over here.
Come over here. Got it.
Yep.
All right. With that, that does it for television. And we can move on to movies. And we always start the movie section with the weekend box office numbers. And yeah, I called it. So I'll pick up the phone this time. Taylor took a second week at number one here. Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour is your number one movie again with $33 million, adding to its $131 million total. Number two,
$13.1 million.
Haha, I see what you did. Coming in at number two, though, Killers of the Flower Moon, which made only $23 million in its first week. So not as great as people thought it was going to do. But you can only play a 3.5-hour movie so many times in your theater. Turns out. Coming in at number three, The Exorcist, The Believer, with another $5.6 million. That's at 54. Number four, Paw Patrol, The Mighty Movie, with a $4.4 million gross this week. That's at 56 million. And right now, your top five, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and a special 30th anniversary showing, made $4.2 million this week.
Apparently, $4.2 million worth of people wanted to see The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I mean,
and the big screen.
A lot of people like that movie. I am not one of them, but a lot of people do like that. All right. Speaking of new movies, though, we have new releases this week. Two of them. Five Nights at Freddy's. At long last, the movie based on the hit video game that kids love with all the jump scares. Finally out this week, just in time for Halloween. So there's that. And then also this week, Freelance, which I'm not sure what's up with Freelance. You got that synopsis for us?
It is an action comedy starring Alison Brie, Alice Eve, John Cena, and Christian Slater. Well, I don't know if you can see John Cena acting in it.
You can't.
It says he's in the movie.
Well, I'll believe it when I, see it.
Well, you can also see the other movie that's supposedly getting a wide release called Sight.
Sight? I can see Sight?
Yes, you could see Sight, or you could see Freelance.
Or you can see C, that show, C. Is Jason Momoa in C, or is he in U? I always forget.
He's in C. No, he's in C. Yes.
Then which one's U?
That is Sexiest Man Alive, Paul Rudd.
Oh, he's in U?
Yeah, he is you.
Sorry. Anyway.
Paul Rudd is you.
He's you.
Whereas Zendaya is Michi.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for finishing that up. Let's move into movie news. Our first story takes us to Paramount, who has moved some of their schedule further back. Starting with the next Mission Impossible film by nearly an entire year, from its original date of June 28th, 2024, to a new spot on May 23rd, 2025. Like other films of its size and scale, the eighth Mission movie was forced to halt production amid the ongoing SAG-AFTRA strike and won't be completed in time to open next summer. Mission Impossible will arrive on the big screen with a new name as well. Paramount and Skydance have agreed to drop the second half of its title, formerly Dead Reckoning Part 2, though the sequel will still follow the events of this year's Dead Reckoning Part 1. So you'll have a movie that's called that for no reason.
Or, they'll do what they did with Edge of Tomorrow and just rename it for release.
Yeah.
I was going to say for DVD release, but they're canceling those too. So
yeah, for digital release, that probably will just be Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning.
Yes, and drop the part one part.
Well,
which is what they should have done the entire time.
I know. As part of this move, A Quiet Place Day One, which is a prequel to A Quiet Place, the 2018 post-apocalyptic hit, that will be rescheduled to June 28th, 2024, instead of its previously scheduled date of March 8th. Meanwhile, an untitled SpongeBob SquarePants film has been postponed from May 23rd, 2025 to December 19th, 2025 to be a holiday release. Currently, there looks to be a flurry of films still set to open Memorial Day next year, such as Mad Max prequel Furiosa, a Garfield film, and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Continuing
Yes.
the long-running tradition of Planet of the Apes movies having way too many of those in their name.
Yeah, of course. Also, I'm pretty sure that is an animated Garfield film and not based on the president Garfield.
I'm pretty sure it's about the cat. Yes, it's not it's not a biopic about Andrew Garfield either. If you want to get the trifecta. All right, let's move on.
All right.
Our
Well,
next story.
as we're talking about Paramount and being delayed films because of SAG-AFTRA, hey,
Yes.
do we have a deal yet?
No, the answer is no, and we might not have one anytime soon. Because four CEOs, the CEOs of Disney, Warner Brothers, NBC Universal, and Netflix, are currently set to return to SAG-AFTRA headquarters on Tuesday with a new offer, that was, I guess, today, a
Yes.
new offer that they hope will break the stalemate in the 102-day actors strike. Among them will be Disney's Bob Iger, who is eager to get a deal done as soon as possible in the hopes of salvaging next summer's box office and some portion of the already in progress 2023 to 2024 TV season. The talks broke down already on October 11th after the union proposed a 57-cent per subscriber's fee on all streaming platforms, which would cost the studios roughly $500 million a year. We talked about this last week. The AMPTP said that would present an untenable economic burden, unquote. Meanwhile, Fran Drescher, the president of SAG-AFTRA and everyone's nanny, has argued that the dramatic transformation in the entertainment business model requires a dramatically improved compensation structure. So it is unlikely that SAG-AFTRA will back down. So yeah, I think honestly, this is just another recipe for another breakdown in talks. I do not think the AMPTP is going to come to the table with a deal that good. I find it extremely hard to believe, judging by how they acted last time.
I mean, they come back saying 49 cents per subscriber. Put an actual number to it than just saying no.
Yeah. I'm curious. At this point, anything could happen. I mean, we had, a surprise win for the writers in their strike. It could happen again here out of nowhere in similar fashion. But judging by how much they were refusing to budge last time, I don't know if the producers are willing to pay that much. But we'll see.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, as the WGA saw, I mean, they got their deal. I know it's hard for, I don't know it's hard, but it's when you sign like a big check away, you don't want to just turn around and sign another big check away.
Typically, no, you don't.
Typically, no. But then, hey, guess what you can do if you're one of these big CEOs? You can then turn around and say, hey, all you subscribers, pay us more because now we have to pay them more.
Yeah, we really don't want that to happen either. So we'll see what happens. But anyway.
Yeah, we'll see what happens as the streaming wars continue.
In the meantime, what's not continuing is this show, because that will do it for the Media Boat podcast. But don't worry, we'll continue the show going forward, and we'll have another episode next week. Here's how you can watch it. If you want to watch it in video form, you can go to our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com and search Media Boat Podcast. There you'll find our channel. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications when a new video goes up. If you want to listen to it in audio form, classic style, kick it old school, like it's 2001 and the Diamondbacks are in the World Series, you can do that by listening to us on podcast services of your choice, including Amazon, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and even Spotify. If you want to follow us on social media platforms, we're still on Twitter, and we refuse to call it X, at MediaBoatcast is our handle there. Facebook, search MediaBoat Podcast, and you can find us there. Twitch.tv/MediaBoat is where you can find Mike playing some Spider-Man 2, if you want to see his adventures as your friendly neighborhood spider person.
You can also thwip with me.
Exactly. Thwip with him. He needs a thwip buddy. And you can also find us on MediaBoatPodcast.com for an archive of our show. Thwip buddy sounds, that sounds like a sex act, doesn't it? I don't love that. I don't love that at all. You and your thwip buddies can tune in to MediaBoatPodcast.com to see an archive of our show. And in the meantime, that will do it for us here on this fine October afternoon. If you want to see us next time, we'll be on Halloween.
We'll be back with more news, more thoughts. Taylor Swift, 1989
1989
version,
Taylor's version is here.
and Halloween was with us next time.
So get ready. See you guys next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.